Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to the Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 70. Can humanity have one voice? And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello, and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald, and I am so glad that you are here today. I am here with my darling Shannon Kropf.
Hello, Monique, and hello, everybody. It is so good to, even though we're virtual again, we're not in the same room, but it's so great to see you.
So great to see you. And wasn't that fun to actually be in the same room?
It was. And, I thought, God, we have to do this again while you're down here. And then, we went on vacation, and vacation these days, it's like you have to pre-work. You have to do all the work you would have done during vacation.
That's
just
right.
So you can take some time off. And it's bizarre, but so we never got around to it, did we?
No, we never did. But the good news is that I am going to be down in Florida more often to visit my beautiful little auntie.
Yay!
And see my friends in Florida, which I was so lovely. Some of you listening may not know, but my mom used to live in Florida, in the Orlando area. And so I was there at least half the year, on and off, right? And I met some amazing people and made some great friends, including Shannon and our producer, Dave. Hey, Dave. You can't hear Dave,
said,
but
hey.
He's waving. So that was lovely. And it's lovely to know that I'm going to be back there more often. So, yay. Well, I have to tell you about today's message, Shannon. I was invited by a singing colleague to participate in a concert, but I was in Florida, so I wouldn't be back in time for the rehearsals. So I had to decline, and it would have been my first singing gig back for a very, very long time.
Right.
But I went to the concert to support him and another singer friend who was part of the concert. And it was sponsored by the Schiller Institute and the Liederkranz Foundation and a lot of organizations here in New York City that got together. It was for the anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima.
Oh, wow.
And it was connected with the UN, and the organizations were doing rallies and speaking out to be sure that this never happens again.
Right.
And that it literally was a crime against humanity, and pointing that out and sharing awareness that we're very close to that happening anytime. I mean, way closer than anybody wants to think about or talk about.
Right.
And because I wasn't singing, and this was really interesting for me because, I I drove the singers. I was the driver. I was the
nice.
support,
Right.
right? I was the supportive darling supporting their voices, which is as you know, that's my mission,
Sure.
supporting and empowering voices. And so I took them, there was a rehearsal before the gig, right? So I was there sitting in the church and I was sort of checking in with myself. And I was like, are you okay? Normally it would be you up there. In
Oh
fact,
my God.
this
I
was
have the
your
same
gig.
story, Monique.
Oh, stop. Oh, well,
You
of
are
course.
shut up.
My
Are you
quantum
serious?
sister, of course. Yes.
The same story.
Amazing. What's your
I'm sorry.
story? And then we'll
I
come
didn't
back
mean to
to
interrupt you.
mine.
I'm just so gobsmacked by
I
I mean, I'm always amused by the ways that we're living these parallel lives.
Yeah.
But I went to Miami with Dave for a gig with all the guys I used to play with at CCU, and they were all playing and I was not. And I was sitting in the audience going, am I okay? I'm usually the one up there. I mean,
That's
it's exactly what you
crazy.
just said.
That is so crazy.
Sorry. Okay, please
No,
continue.
not at all. You know,
outburst.
I love this. I just love how we're connected. This is beautiful. So I was sitting in the pew, sort of checking in with myself and having this conversation with myself. And before I could really come up with an answer, this gentleman called Dennis Speed, who is the Northeast coordinator for the Schiller Institute, was introduced to me by my friend. And my friend, who's so darling, he always introduces me as the world-renowned singer, Monique, and I was sort of chuckling at that. And this man finished the sentence. He said, this is my friend, the world-renowned singer, Monique. And he said, McDonald, right? And I was like,
oh,
what?
Okay.
What a good memory you have, because
right?
I don't have such a good memory. Well, turns out that this man is, besides being a brilliant mind, he just has such vision. And we started to have this conversation that, have you ever been in it felt like, in the movies when two people are having a conversation and the camera goes all around and it's like they get lifted out of whatever the situation is. And it's like all of a sudden this like, that's what it was like. I felt like we were in this bubble and all kinds of
everything
activity
else
was
goes
going
away.
on, right?
Yeah.
Getting ready for the concert.
Yeah.
And we were just like, he was shining his light and his vision into me. And I was getting so activated and so inspired. I was shining my response into him. And it just was like this circle, this bubble of inspiration. And I said something and he said, oh, I'm so glad you said that. I needed to hear that today. And then he said something and I said to him, okay, you've just inspired me. I've got to sing. I've got to sing.
Oh, wow.
And he laid out his 5-year plan for unifying the world.
Oh, wow.
Through chorus for peace. And then what was so cool, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but what was so cool was that then it was time for the concert to start. And I watched him go up and give this amazing 5-minute speech that had been born of this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
Which I just like, right? So we were inspiring each other, and then I got to watch him like
inspire
take
other
it
people.
across.
Yeah.
Take it across the finish line. And he posed the question. This is an experiment this evening. is it possible for humanity to have one voice for peace? And the whole concert was called Humanity for Peace. And he started giving me examples in history over and over again where people were gathered together in chorus.
Yeah.
People of different walks of life, of different you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, gotcha.
Lord have mercy. Thank you. I do know the word. I'm just socioeconomic. Socioeconomic. Thank you. Backgrounds coming together, different politics, but unifying in music, through music. And how music, especially classical music, is a way of creating history and legacy that lasts. And one of the examples that he gave of the whole world singing together is Beethoven's Ode to Joy.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which it never occurred to me, really, to think of it that way. But that music is known worldwide.
Absolutely.
And it was created a gazillion years ago. Maybe not a gazillion.
Half a gazillion.
Half a gazillion years ago. And it still stands.
Right.
And it still unifies. And so then now this idea keeps ringing in my ears. What is mine to do with this idea? He talked about, and this is something I didn't know, that Samuel Adams, right? You were not expecting that word to come out. That name to come out of my mouth. Samuel Adams. How did he recruit the Sons of Liberty?
Don't tell me he sang.
Gangs. They were gangs fighting each other.
Right.
He created a chorus.
Oh my God.
And they all started singing together. And that's where he recruited them from.
Crazy. I did not know that.
I didn't either. I knew you'd groove on this.
Totally.
And then it just was like more and more. I started doing some research. I was looking at the situation in Ukraine. And so many concerts were given for peace.
Right.
And Ukraine's president did a speech before one of the concerts. And it went something like this. The brutality of what happened in the Ukraine caused so many deaths. It filled the world with silence. And the antidote to that silence is to fill it with music and voices united. It is it has redefined my work and why I do my work.
Mm-hmm.
It has opened my heart and soul to this big idea
Wow.
of how can we unite the world
Mm.
through the voice, through joining voices joining together in the name of peace.
Mm.
I don't know. That makes me want to get out of bed in the morning. I mean, for me, it's even less about what is the solution and
Mm-hmm.
how do I make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, by our spiritual teachings, that's not my job. That's not my job, right? That's
Right.
That's the job of the
That's right.
divine.
That's right.
My job is to show up in all the ways that I can,
Mm.
to be available to what does that mean, and how do I use my voice and empower other voices
Mm.
to create this idea of, can humanity have one voice in the name of peace?
Mm.
Phew. So
Well, that's a
what
lot.
I've been thinking about.
That's yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's what I started to see is that it's been happening for centuries.
Right.
I just wasn't paying attention to it in that specific way,
Right.
as I imagine most of us don't or
Mm-hmm.
haven't. And so, what does that mean? What does that mean? How can I carry this through? All I can do is my own little corner
Sure.
of the world,
Right.
my own little right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm filled with that intention, and I talk to you about it,
Right.
and I talk to all the people listening today about it, and I just keep being this idea and being a voice for peace, who knows what can happen?
That's right. That's right. And there's so much in the history of all of this, like you're saying. Obviously sound has frequencies, so there's the metaphysical of this, and then there's the actual provable, tangible stuff. And my mind first went to the Battle of Jericho back in the Bible, and everybody marched
And the
around,
walls come tumbling down.
and why did they come tumbling down? Because everybody yelled at the same time.
That's right.
That is a physical force.
That's
Like the
right.
frequencies. And I was just thinking through the Torah, Old Testament, all that stuff that gets translated as like praise or thanks or whatever is actually about singing. And it's about what happens with the light within you when you sing, and about how it
Yes.
shines out and is exuberant and joyful and all of these things that we just don't even realize today because of the translations. But it's a very, very ancient thing that you're talking about.
It is. And just looking at that choir, I think there were probably 60,
Mm-hmm.
70 voices in the choir that night.
Wow.
And looking at the faces, there were
Mm-hmm.
the faces of every ethnicity.
Yeah.
coming together
Yeah.
and being one voice.
Right.
And what if we did that around the world? And
That
I
would be
mean, think
amazing.
about it. Band-Aid, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've done it. We
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. Live
Definitely.
Aid. We do it. But it's like we do it in a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What if we just were it all the time?
It would be a different place.
It would be a different place, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
Absolutely.
And I'm holding that vision.
This
Will
is going
you
to be a
hold
fun
that
story to
vision?
watch this play out.
Will you hold that vision with me, Shannon?
Of course. Absolutely.
And will all of you listening here today hold that vision?
Yes, we will, Monique.
Thank you so much for being my partner, Shannon.
You're
thank
welcome.
you, all of you listening, for partnering me in all the ways that you do. That I don't even know. But I feel you out there.
That's right.
And I'm sending you loads of love.
Beautiful.
All right. Let's take a deep, centering breath. Closing our eyes. I invite you to listen. Listen to your insides. Listen. Get still and listen. Listen for that still small voice that is always there with you. That divine voice that is always speaking. And as we breathe and tune ourselves to this voice, and know together the possibility what if humanity had one voice united in peace? So it's not one idea or one individual voice. It's all the ideas and all the voices, all the different colors of the voices, all the different ways of expression of the voices, all of the individuals coming together and blending together their individual voices. To be representatives of the divine on earth. To be peace. To express and shine into the world the music of peace, of harmony. And as we breathe together today, I invite you to just be available to this idea. As we tune ourselves to the divine voice within, How can I lend my voice to peace? How can I stand up and be peace? How can I forgive another? How can I accept others? How can I embrace someone I don't agree with? So often we turn our backs on dissenting voices, voices that we don't agree with, opinions that we don't share. We close. What if we just listened? We don't have to agree. We don't have to convince them of our way of being. We just are. I wonder how life would change. So today I invite you, as we breathe and tune ourselves to the divine within. What if today, if you heard an opinion you didn't agree with, or someone did something to you that hurt or upset you, instead of lashing out or trying to convince or all the other things that we can do, what if you just listened and sang your song of peace, your song of divine love within you? Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your voice. I know with you today that your voice can vibrate the world. And so it is.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.